Good afternoon, New Bedford Guide followers. We are doing our police show again today, Thursday, a little bit later than usual, but we have two guests here today. We have Chief Cordeiro, and we have not a new person in the police department, but a new role with the police department, Lieutenant Resendiz, right?
Yes.
Resendiz, right?
Yes,
Resendiz.
Mike, thank you for hosting us here today.
Yeah, so tell me, so you're the new public information officer.
Yes, I am. I was asked to try the position. I became the public information officer, I believe it was more towards the end of October, a couple months ago, and that's what I've been doing.
You have big shoes, promotion to the north end for Lieutenant Mello, who was an awesome PI.
Yes, actually, Captain Mello.
Captain Mello, yeah.
He was my academy classmate, and I was very happy to see Captain Mello progress through the ranks in the department. Nice to see him as a captain at the North End Station, and it's nice to see people in my academy from 1989 doing well.
So if you have any questions out there, go ahead and throw them out, and I'll ask the officers anything. Just throw it out, and we'll look at it. A lot of stuff going on this week. So we have some big news with the police department. A young Lieutenant Pimentel, not lieutenant, he's a young sergeant? Or
Officer, police officer.
just police officer. I'm a military guy. I'm used to a different military rank, but Pimentel. So there was a fire early in the morning, Wednesday morning. Why don't you tell us what went on?
Yeah, so we responded to a fire, and Lieutenant Resendiz can jump in any time. We responded to a fire, and Officer Pimentel gets there, and the building is filling.
First on the scene.
First on the scene, the building is bellowing with smoke, filling up with smoke pretty quickly. He immediately, without any thoughts of his own safety or any, fire equipment, he doesn't have any Scott's mask or, the fire repellent equipment, the churn coat and all that stuff. Immediately runs into the building and starts getting people out of the building. I believe he pulled out 6 individuals out of the building. He saved 6 lives. If that's accurate, right?
That's accurate, Chief. Correct.
And then we find out that there is one other occupant. They're a female, but he just can't get in. The fire department arrives, and fortunately, they were able to get in there with their equipment and able to get her out of that building alive at the time.
Yeah, so one person did pass away, from what I read.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Right, I believe it's the same individual that they had to go in, this female.
That was on Tinkham Street Wednesday morning.
Who I'm personally friends with. I only found out this yesterday because her brother ended up calling me up. Very nice family, but very sad.
Yeah, so we'll have a follow-up for that later next week on the story, but congrats to the officer. I mean, it's bravery. You don't see it every day. Some people just wait for the fire department. He jumped in there and risked his own life, and people are going to survive because of it.
No doubt about it. Very proud of, Officer Pimentel, his actions, his courage, as you said, and valor. And just, we're very proud of him. And I think he speaks and he emulates the standard of policing that we've come to know and expect here in the New Bedford Police Department. Just courage, giving people with always the forethought of helping others first and putting ourselves second. So really proud of him.
And Officer Pimentel, I want to add, hasn't been on the department that long. I actually hired him when I was the department's training director. So he hasn't been on the department that long. He's actually still what, when I was in the department, we'd call it still a rookie. But he does come from a good background. He served his country. He's a veteran. He did military deployments overseas, and he represents us well.
It's been 2 years with us, right? If he's not coming up on 2 years, it's just a little over 2 years.
Yeah.
It's right around that time frame, but he's a very nice young man, and his family must be extremely proud of him as we are.
Yeah, I have a feeling the story's going to grow. We're going to see some national news down here soon. Moving on, so there was a viral video now we have on New Bedford Guide. It was closed due to parallel parking. It's kind of like a funny sign they put out there. They were opened again yesterday, but in the video we have playing right now on there. Do you have any details on the update? Sounds like all you guess is I saw the surveillance video. She was parallel parking but hit the gas. I don't know what the...
My understanding is she was trying to park and she panicked. She hit the gas, I imagine, when she should have hit the brake, and it was an unfortunate incident. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. That's the main thing. But it did make for interesting visual.
Yeah.
Interesting visual.
Yeah, we are very grateful that nobody was behind that car. because that's a well-traveled area downtown. There's a lot of pedestrians, and downtown's become so successful. You just have a lot of people down there, so thank God.
Yeah, and if you're going down a one-way, you think you're safe to walk behind a car that's going the other way, right? So, I saw a press release you sent out talking about Blue Mass, February 11th at St. Peter's Church, which is 351 Elm Street in South Dartmouth. What's the Blue Mass? What is that?
Blue Mass is being put on by the Bridge Street Church with Father Scott to really honor, men and women who are serving in this capacity. Pretty much what Officer Pimentel did at that fire. We have officers every day out there putting their life at risk and doing a variety of actions from the smallest to the larger, more apparent ones like Officer Pimentel. And they want to honor the officers, which I think is wonderful. And we're seeing more and more of that of the public. A few weeks ago, we went to Keith Middle School for a church mass where all the kids made Christmas cards for every single police officer in the police department. They made one for every single police officer with their name. And we went there and they presented it to us. It really is recharging to all the police officers to have the public to take that type of action towards us and really show us love, really. That's what it is. It's showing us a lot of love and respect. And believe me when I tell you, it goes a long way for us. It really does. I'm very appreciative for Father Scott and his church for doing this for us.
And this is open to the public, right? So people can come and shake
Yes.
hands with some of the officers and
Yes.
talk.
Yeah, just to add what the chief mentioned, Mike, police work in general is very stressful, and it's a type of job, a lot of times you're just dealing with negative. You're just dealing with negative, and the officers, they're human beings just like us. They have families, they go home, and they carry those burdens with them. It's nice and refreshing when these types of services are offered to our officers, because it does give them back their human side.
Everybody likes to say thank you or
Yeah.
we're appreciated. I don't care what
Yeah.
profession you're in. It's nice to say, hey, you did a nice job. Thank you for what you did. I don't care what you do in life. I think it's important, and it's nice to see the public, because you hear about this thing nationally all the time. That's not what we have here in New Bedford. We have so many people going up to officers while they're doing a detail and saying thank you, or going up to officers while they're having a cup of coffee and saying thank you for what you're doing. I know I get that all the time. So to everybody out there, thank you for saying thank you to our officers. I really appreciate it, and please keep that love coming. We could use it.
Yeah, and on that note, so the website, newbedfordpd.com, there's a lot of resources on there. One is you can actually commend an officer, and there's a form there, and we see it all the time on social media. Police officer helps them with groceries, this and that, and I see it a lot. We post it up. I send you a text and send you when
Yeah,
we
you
post
did.
it up, right? So we see it all the time, but that does well, but go ahead and do it so the chief can recognize some of the young troops out there that are actually helping out the citizens or going above and beyond. Go to the website, newbedfordpd.com, a lot of resources. You scroll down, there's a link that says commend an officer. You click that, you fill it out. There's also surveys there. There's you can register your camera if you have a camera in your house and you want to let the police be able to access that in case there's some crime. A lot of resources, newbedfordpd.com, go there. But I would recommend anytime you have a good experience with an officer, and there's another spot if you have a bad experience, but you got a good experience, you reinforce that good deeds with the cops, and it brings their morale up, right? Because they say, okay, it's coming back to me, and they'll keep doing it. It's a good way to reinforce it.
Absolutely, Mike. I encourage folks to do that. And when I get them, I think the one you sent me was an Officer Delacies. I was helping out some homeless folks. Another one, he brought a little kid in his cruiser. He was driving by around Common Park. And when I get those, I many times will call the officer. A lot of times I'll send a department-wide memo thanking them for doing from the smallest acts of kindness and professionalism to the larger ones. And we absolutely want to know when our officers have done something good. And we also want to know if they did something that wasn't copacetic or up to your standards. We have a survey online right now. We're going to be taking it down. We had hired some consultants to do some strategic planning for the city of New Bedford, for the police department, and they're going to be sending out we're going to be doing a wide survey, so you can really let us know what we're doing well or what we can do better, because what you think and what your experiences are important to us, and we want to continue to progress and become the police department that you want us to be. I think we're pretty close, but we want to hear from you, both positive and negative, and I thank you for when you sent me those, Mike. It means a lot.
So we have 3 promotions tomorrow at Keith Middle School. And always get
2 promotions.
Is it 2?
And one's an award.
Oh, okay, one's an award. So we got an award and 2 promotions tomorrow. What's the process of officer promotions? I always get, sometimes we talk about it, they always ask those questions. It's not like it's just your time, right? There's actually a lot of effort that goes into getting promoted. You have to take tests and those kind of
Yes,
things.
I just went through it.
Yeah, why don't you talk about it, Lieutenant?
It's a long process. Our department is a civil service agency, so we have to go through the promotion process. Officers have to take a statewide competitive test through HRD. To prepare for the test, it takes a long time. Me personally, it took me 8 months to study for the exam. I took the captain's portion of the exam. There's lieutenant's portions of the exams and the sergeant's portions of the exams. The exam is very competitive, and a lot of the officers do put in a lot of time and a lot of effort in studying to get a good passing grade. And promotions are based on vacancies. The department is budgeted for so many positions, sergeants, lieutenants, and captains. And the officers who do well on the exam, who pass the exam, are placed on a certification list, and according to their test score. And when an opening comes up in the department, we make our selections.
Are we at full force? Like enough officers? I see we every year we seem to like add another 4 or 5 officers. It seems like.
So
Are we
we've
at full
been,
strength right now?
no, we've been chasing capacity for a long time, Mike, and that's been a big challenge for us. Not just us, but it's across the state. The academies are run by the Massachusetts Police Officer Training Council. They have academies throughout the state, and it's very competitive to lock in a seat, and the process is long before they'll allow you to lock into one of those seats. So for the last 5 years, we've been operating at below capacity. So when I became the chief a year and a half ago, we started the process, and Lieutenant Resendes was in the training division at the time, to get our own academy. So now we're pretty much have approval for it. We're just getting our facilities up to par so we can start hosting our own academy every year and secure enough seats right at the beginning so that we'll be running that capacity every year. So we have 7 officers in the academy right now. We're looking to put an additional 13 over several other academies throughout the state to bring us to capacity. So we hope to be at capacity by fall if we're able to secure all the seats that we need.
So you have the slots, you have the funding, but not the training to get the officers to become
Right,
officers?
we have the funding, we have the vacant slots, but we can't secure the seats in these academies in a timely fashion so we can get all our recruits in there. But I think we have the problem solved because very soon we'll be able to have our own academy here once our facilities are re-engineered at headquarters to accommodate our classroom. So it's been a year and a half of work to get there, but we're pretty close. And as the lieutenant was talking about the promotions, the 2 promotions are coming up tomorrow. We have a retirement that's coming up this weekend, which we want to shout out to Lieutenant Foran, who's done has an exceptional career with the New Bedford Police Department and served in a variety of capacities, from the detective division and in the uniform division as a platoon commander. He's been an exceptional member of our department, and we want to wish him well and thank him for all the years of service. But his vacancy is causing these 2 promotions, a lieutenant and a captain. It will be a lieutenant and a sergeant. We'll have Officer Mike Cassidy's going to be promoted to sergeant, and Sergeant Justin Kagan will be promoted to lieutenant this weekend.
Okay. A little controversial, but probably something more for the chief. Today, Governor Baker came out. Legislators are trying to look at investigating injection sites, safe injection zones. They do in Amsterdam and across, like in most, a lot of them in Europe. The governor's skeptical of it. What do you think of? Would you bring these to the city of New Bedford, injection sites?
I know they have one in the state. I think it's in Boston. I would not personally think it'd be a place for the city of New Bedford. I think we need to, based on our opioid task force that we got going on, the biggest piece that we need to really start focusing on, we have to focus on all the aspects of it, is prevention. Prevention is where we need to really start putting a lot of emphasis and value into prevention. There's a variety of ways of doing it and a lot of methods, because if we don't, in 5 years, our crisis that we're going through right now, not only in New Bedford, but everywhere, because it is hitting everybody, is going to be compound to the point that our systems will be beyond taxation of where we're at now. We're taxed now. It'll be beyond our ability to really manage. So that's why I think we really need to focus our efforts and our monies and investments. Not to say that we give up on those that are in the pool of this disease called addiction. I think we have to continue to work very strong to pull as many as we can out. We're looking to put a program that's a lead program. Once we get you in, we don't penalize you for falling off the wagon. We stay with you to try to find the best treatment plan for you, because treatment's different for everybody. It's got to be customized to your needs. And I think that's where we really need to start focusing on beds, treatment, on that side of the equation.
It's a double-edged sword. You have to prevent while you're curing.
You got to do both. Big emphasis on prevention, while we work very strong on the rehabilitation piece. I'm not sure having injection beds is going to solve that problem. I think we have to recognize that people do fall off the wagon, and won't throw them off on any program for that, because you got to keep working with them until you find the treatment that's right for them, and timing is everything.
I know the injection things. When I was stationed in Germany, in Amsterdam, it was to kind of control hepatitis and all the drugs. People share needles. It was more like, okay, you get a safe spot. We throw away the needle, give you a new needle, those kind of things. And I know, so you bring up a good topic. I don't think people in New Bedford realize that there's a task force out there, an opioid task force. It kind of goes under the radar a little bit, but I've noticed it. How long has that been going on? It's like 2 years now, right?
So we got it back up and running when fall of 2016. I got involved in getting that up and running, but I think it was in existence. But here's the incredible thing about a task force, and we had a meeting today. We're busting at the seams with our partners, and I'm so proud of every one of them, because they're making a huge difference in this community. And maybe, Mike, you could come to one of our meetings, and maybe you can televise it, and our community can really be proud of what's happening here. Not only in New Bedford, but Dartmouth and Fairhaven has now joined our task force. We have an outreach program that is second to none, I think, in the region, really doing an incredible job. And Lieutenant Resendiz, I thank him for the work he's done on that. We have a drop-in center that's now going to be meeting twice a month, from 0 to 1 to twice a month throughout the city.
Is that the one at PACA?
We're going to be adding Packer as an additional site.
Okay.
We're doing it at the Pilgrim Church.
Okay.
So we have that going on. We just started a frameworks committee to start working on the frameworks to formalize and look at funding streams. We have a prevention team, working group that just started up about 6 weeks ago, that we're going to be really putting a lot of our value and time into it. We now have a Facebook page. We're looking at how to use technology to expand that. It's really they're doing incredible work, these folks, from all different walks of life and different organizations, from South Coast, Police Department, the city, the mayor's office, the health department, Seven Hills, Ad Care, the school department, and I mean, the list is pretty long. I would love for you to be there to
we'll definitely go to the
to
next
really
one.
highlight what's going on here in New Bedford. It really is incredible. And the last thing I want to talk about in this discussion about treatment beds, injection beds, is there is strong data from, I believe it's Boston Medical, maybe I got the hospital wrong, but they came down and did a presentation for us on medical treatment, drug treatment, as being very, very successful. So that is an area that I think we should be really looking to emphasize on our rehabilitation piece right now. So when you have someone that goes to an emergency room or to rehab, that is a very viable means of treatment in terms of success rate that they're seeing in Boston and other parts. So that's something that we should be looking at more readily on our triage in terms of treatment. I think instead of the injection beds, I think that is a good way of curtailing that urge and get people stabilized so we can get a good treatment program for them.
So if you just joined me, we're with the Chief of Police for New Bedford and the Public Information Officer. Throw out any questions you have. So we got a lot of thanks to all the officers. God bless the police, all that stuff, but no real questions yet. Another topic, legalize marijuana. So if you notice, they put that 5-person board together. They come up with the rules in December. They put it out there. How's the police department preparing for? Is it any different to you? Obviously, recreational is going to be a lot more usage than the medical. How's the police department prepare for, is it going to be a coming wave of people smoking? I know an OUI is different from marijuana than alcohol. How are you preparing as a police chief?
So I think there's a lot of challenges. Not only, it's for every law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth, and discussing this with other chiefs across the Commonwealth, going to different meetings with them, we're all facing the same challenges. First of all, in OUI alcohol versus an OUI marijuana, we have a method of scientifically measuring the blood alcohol content in your body through a BAC, through the breathalyzer. We really, there's nothing in the industry right now that we can standardize and scientifically measure, you know, the levels of THC in your system, right? So that's a problem for us from the law enforcement perspective and the DA's office, right? How do we prosecute these cases? That's one. Two, the regulations, as this 5-commission team starts to develop how they're gonna regulate this industry, will dictate how we play a role in enforcing those regulations. So we really have to see how that comes out as we prep for that. We do have to start prepping for training how we're gonna enforce those regulations, but before we can do that, we need to know what those regulations are. So we're kinda in purgatory here, we're in between, in the middle of the street, how we can start to prepare for it.
Let's talk your policy. Do you consider marijuana a threat?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do, and I know there's a lot of people out there that don't agree, but the data still is out there, and you can disagree with it all you want, but marijuana is an absolute gateway drug, and the data supports that. I think there's a place for marijuana for medicinal purposes, but again, the public has spoken. They've legalized marijuana in Massachusetts, and as a law enforcement agency, we are charged with enforcing the law, not breaking the law. We do have federal law that we also have to comply with, but generally speaking, it's more state law, so we will comply with the wishes of the public and the laws and the regulations that are set forth by this commission. But I think in the long term, when you're having this discussion, Mike, 10 years from now, and we're discussing how marijuana, recreational marijuana has impacted society, I think it's gonna have a negative connotation. It already is. I was at a landlord's meeting the other day. I think you were there, Mike.
I was there.
Talking about it. You can see how this is gonna impact how landlords have to deal with someone smoking marijuana on their second floor tenement, and the folks on the first floor with second kids are being exposed to this secondhand smoke. How do they deal with that legal aspect of managing and controlling folks smoking marijuana on their property or in their backyard, per se, when the other families want to have a barbecue?
Well, I can imagine, I deal with it on social media a lot, where you post, someone was busted with like 2 pounds of marijuana, and they're like, wait, I thought it was legal. And it's like, okay, it's legal to have some plants and to smoke in your house, but you can't be like driving with a blunt in your mouth and grow 20, you know, the big busts are going on with the, like someone having 200 plants in their house. And it's still illegal no matter what they say at the federal level, right? So you're still dealing with the Trump administration going down the road with the Department of Justice. The U.S. Department of Justice just came out, the head in Massachusetts just came out last week and said, hey, it's still legal federal level, and we still prosecuting these cases.
So I met him the other day at the Chiefs Conference, and he spoke a little bit about it, because, you know, that's on the topic for all the chiefs, how we're gonna manage this and what's his perspective on it. And I think, and I don't wanna misquote the man or speak for him, but the impression I got is he's saying, hey, look, we can't condone, from a federal agency perspective, we can't condone violation of federal law. He can't come out and say, listen, if you have small amounts of marijuana and you're dealing it under their threshold, we're never going to prosecute you. They can't do that. It's an ethical issue for them, right? But I think what he's also saying is they recognize that their resources are limited, and they know what their priorities are.
And it's a misdemeanor, right?
Opioids and heroin, they know that's a priority. That's where they're going to be putting most of their resources. But at the same token, they can't say, hey, to Massachusetts and Colorado, and, you know, it's okay for you to violate federal law. We're going to bless you with that. They don't have that authority to bless that. The only people that do are the legislators in Congress, right?
What does it fall under? Like, I know like fentanyl is like B, heroin's A, class A. What does marijuana fall under? Is it
in Massachusetts, it's D.
D?
It's a class.
And it's a misdemeanor under an ounce, right now, until they do the recreational stuff, I'm guessing.
Right, under an ounce, it's been decriminalized.
Decriminalized
Completely.
completely,
It's a civil infraction, right? But the distribution, the selling of marijuana is still a crime, right, a misdemeanor crime, right?
Okay. City council elections happen. We have some new folks, and they just put out their assignments. Brian Gomes is going to be the public safety officer. He's been that before, I believe. How is that relationship with the city council, public, as far as the committee, public safety? Has always been a good relationship with the police and the?
Yeah, you know, Councilor Gomes has always been an advocate for law enforcement, and especially the New Bedford Police Department. I personally can say I think he's a friend beyond professional working relationship. I see that's probably going to be a good thing, and I don't see that adversary or negative in any shape, way, or form. I'm sure he's going to do a great job as he's done there in the past.
do you guys work with the city council to get certain ordinances passed, or is it kind of like a one-way they pass it? Do you have influence into that at all, or?
Yeah, I can tell you as a captain, I worked on an ordinance that we worked with them, and we've worked with other ordinances with them. I think we have a great working relationship with city government as a whole, from whether it's the department heads or, elected officials, city council, the mayor's office. Yeah, we have a really good working relationship.
Sure.
I don't see any issues there. From my perspective, they may tell you something different,
Yeah.
but it's been very good, and I expect it's gonna be,
Yeah,
very.
it's a new guard. I think it was Coelho was last year, and now it's going to be Brian Gomes this year.
Yep.
Goes with the lieutenant. So the animal control officer, you see online, they seem to be kind of like, and it's Manny still, right? He's still the.
Yes.
Is he kind of overworked? Is it too much for like one man to have? Or is
Well,
it
actually, Manny just recently got help. He was working understaffed and
Okay.
by himself for quite a period of
Yeah.
time, and we had a difficult time finding good applicants to take that position. But fortunately, over the last few weeks, we did bring people on board. He's fully staffed now, and I'd like to add, he seems much happier as he comes into the station.
Yeah, I can see it, right? Because I know I'm also the New Bedford pet detective. We
Yeah.
help sometimes 2 or 3 dogs a day or cats, get back. But obviously they get dropped off over there, and it's one guy. He has to run out and do stuff. He has to, and the biggest complaint is, if you call there, he might not be there because he's out actually doing the job, right? So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, maybe that's a good show, Mike, bringing those 2 new
Yeah.
animal control officers and talking
Yeah.
to those 2. It
Yeah.
might be a
Yeah.
good thing. We're very happy to have him, and he needed the help.
So one of the biggest things and the city council took this on, but it's kind of always a problem, and maybe you can give some recommendations. You have the electric bill scammers, right? So they come to your door. Some are pretty forceful. They'll put their foot in the door. They'll say they're with Eversource, or they even say NSTAR, even though NSTAR is not around anymore. And they want to see your bill, and if they get your bill, they can actually sign you up for these. Like, what would you recommend to someone out there when someone knocks on the door and says, "Hi, I'm with Eversource. Can I see your bill?"
Don't open the door. If you don't know who's at the door, don't even open the door. They say they're from Eversource or any other company, the bank. 'Cause
We know Eversource has said we don't send people to your door to
Right.
get you to sell you offshore stuff.
Right. Call the police. Call us immediately. And it may not seem an emergency to you, but here's the reality of it. If they just walk from your property to another, someone's gonna let them in, and they're gonna scam them, and they're gonna hurt somebody financially. So call us immediately. Call us, and let us get a cruiser over to identify this person and get to the bottom of it real quick and get an investigation going.
Yeah, it's like you'll see it almost every day on social media. Someone banged on my door. Are they really NSTAR guys knocking on the doors? They're still out there, the confusion out there, because they're making money. They're signing people up to like multi-year contracts, and they can be pretty forceful. It's kind of like the guys they drop off to sell magazines. It's like now the next thing is this energy.
Right, Mike.
There's some good companies out there, but there's a lot of scammers too.
Yeah, I recommend not open door to anybody, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, unless you really know who they are, or the police, of course. But here's the thing, please call us, because we don't know about it, that's one. Even if they're gone by the time we get there, we have some other means that we may be able to identify them, either through cameras, they're crossing through one of our cameras, they're crossing through a private citizen's camera. We have maybe another opportunity to identify this person and then even put their picture up so to warn other people. So please, if help yourself or someone that you love and care about, your neighbor, that you can prevent from getting scammed. Give us a call.
The weather's been freezing lately. We've had the cold weather shelter open constantly. What are the officers seeing out there as far as the homeless population? Because I know there's only like 25 available spots for the overflow. Are there still people getting left out in the cold? Are they getting taken care of, or do you know?
Well, we do have a problem in our area, and some of it's attributed to the opiate crisis that we have. People with addiction and so forth, often they have no place to go. I know on occasion, other entities have opened their doors for the homeless population. We've actually had people come to the station and just spend a few hours inside our lobby just to stay warm. So it is something that is here, and it's not just our municipality. The homeless population has been growing in surrounding communities and so forth, so.
Yeah.
If I could just add, Mike, on that, what I do know about the homeless in our area is, we have again, I go back to the incredible community we have here. There's a ton of resources in terms of feeding the homeless. There's no reason anybody's going without food out there, because you have Loaves and Fishes that's out there, you have the Pilgrim Church, you have the chapel, you have Catholic
Social
charities,
services,
social
everyone,
services,
yep.
a ton of people that are feeding them out there. And we do have shelters in here from, the shelter in the South End. We have a Robert Hughes up north that's taking in people. He takes people from the police department any time of day.
Yeah.
So there is a place for you to stay. The dilemma here part of the dilemma with the homeless population here, as in many other areas throughout the country, is many do not want to change. They like that lifestyle. I hate to say they like that lifestyle. They just, they don't want to change that lifestyle
Yeah.
of living outside and doing what they want, either because of mental health issues, substance addiction disease that they're suffering from, alcoholism or drugs, and they're stuck in that lifestyle that they don't want to change. It's not because there isn't resources or services for them, they're locked in, they're fixated, if you will.
Okay, I'll do one last question. So, the chief of police for any city or town is also the person who does the firearm interviews, right?
The firearms licensing, yes.
So, if someone in New Bedford want to get a gun, what's the process for them?
So, first of all, you can go on our website. On our website has a checklist of everything that you're going to need to get accomplished. Besides filling out the application and being a resident in the city of New Bedford, you have to take a firearms safety class. And then, once you get that done, you just make an appointment with our Firearms Bureau, Sergeant Spillett and Detective Consatio. They'll bring you in, go through the application with you, and then we do a background investigation. Upon our background investigation, we submit it to the state. And they also do an additional query. And if everything comes back fairly well for you, and then we approve your license.
So, the police still have discretion to say no, even if they pass through? I think, right?
We do have discretion to say no, but I'll be honest with you, we're staying right within the parameters of the law. We're not refusing anybody if they're within the legal parameters of the law. So I don't want to say we're more lenient. I think we're compliant. We're very, very compliant on how we're issuing our licenses.
So I know when I did my safety class, because you have to do the safety class is one of the first things, I went to Freetown. Is that the closest, or is there one in New Bedford, or Acushnet, or somewhere close by?
No, I think when you contact us, we can give you a list
Give us
of.
the places.
We have individuals that are on the department that also teach these safety courses. So there's plenty locally besides Freetown, because that still is local.
Yeah.
But we have plenty in New Bedford, Dartmouth, and Fairhaven. Westport as well, so.
Yeah, so anything you want to end with tonight?
What I'd like to end with, like the Chief mentioned, we talked about early in the show, about the services that we went to a couple of weeks ago, and the upcoming services we have. We have a lot of people out there that like the police department, give us a lot of support, and that support really goes a long way for our people. So to everyone out there, thank you, and keep the support coming.
Yeah, we've talked about that, and we'll say it at the end of every show, is if you see an officer walking by, don't be intimidated. Go up and say, hey, I appreciate what you do, or give feedback, shake hands. And I always say, he tells me stuff, no, you don't have to do. I say, buy him a cup of coffee,
Yes.
do something, support your police officers, because their morale is important for us. Report crime. There's no snitch thing in the city. Just you're not Joe Pesci on the Goodfellas movie.
No.
That's right.
Turning your fellow officers. You're reporting crime. Okay,
Yeah.
you see crime in your street, call, because that's what was your saying. You always have your saying.
Yeah, the saying is, the old saying is, snitches get stitches. I see the silence leads to violence.
Yeah. So if you stay quiet, it's gonna be you next who's gonna be the victim.
That's right.
Report crime that's out there, and I will add one more. We can help prevent some crime. The front of the headquarters and the lobby, you can actually do your internet exchanges, right? And that's been something I try to preach
Yes.
constantly.
Yes.
Don't go on Acushnet Avenue with your
No.
Nike sneakers trying to go Craigslist
Use the
transaction.
station. Use the station.
Even if you're not in the lobby, the cameras are out in the front.
Yes.
And
Yes.
no one's gonna rob you in front of a police station, I would hope. But
No.
that's gonna save, hopefully, you guys some phone calls. If people go there, if you're selling anything doesn't matter how small it is, because just because you're selling a $10 item doesn't mean they don't want your wallet, right? So go to the police station, go into the lobby, do your transaction, and go home safely, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike, and we're looking to expand that free trade zone, if you will, from headquarters. We're looking to put up an additional camera up in the North End Station on Ashley Boulevard in their parking lot to also expand and accommodate those folks that live in the far end of the city. So once we get that up and running, we'll let you know as well. And if I just might end too, Mike, again, to re-echo what the lieutenant said and what you said, thanking everybody for being so nice to us and supportive of the police department. This is an incredible community, and we're different than everywhere else because of you in this community. I want to thank you again, Mike, because the service that you're providing for the city is, it's very valuable. It's incredibly valuable, communicating with the public and get the public to communicate back with us. It really is important. And the last thing I just want to say, again, I want to thank the police officers from the New Bedford Police Department. Without them, we can't accomplish what we accomplish. I thank you for the hard work that you do, putting your life on the line. Officer Pimentel, thank you so much for your acts of bravery. Tomorrow we're going to be honoring Officer Jeremy DeMello with a Chiefs Award for what he's done, bringing the shop with a cop to New Bedford 2 years ago and again this year. Incredible work that he did with that. Really grateful for Officer DeMello, not only in that, but what he's doing in the South End as a new school resource officer, as all our officers. So thank you to the men and women in blue in New Bedford. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to end with, Chief and I have been friends for a while when he was a downtown chief, and I used to live downtown. If you can tell, we're here. He thinks this is important. He wants to get his message out there. I feel it's just important to give them that message, and that's why we're committing to a weekly show. It's your show. Post questions. We don't get to it this week. We'll get it to the next week. If you have ideas, we did a ride along. Let's say it was like November. So we're finishing up that video. Kind of show some of the lighter side of some of the police officers. Who was it, Josh? We went with
Scott Corolla.
Yeah. So Scott
Scott
Corolla,
Corolla, yeah.
artist, amazing artist. So we're going to show you the side of a ride along. We got to chase shadows, I guess, in the night. There was a couple of calls, but then we got to show him in his studio doing some art, and he's an amazing artist. So we're trying to continue to do that. So you have an amazing police chief who's really trying to make the city better, and we are making the city better. I think we really are.
We all are.
Yeah.
I think we all are.
So it's all of us. It's a community.
Yeah, all of
Team
us.
effort.
Don't complain on Facebook. Let the chief know if you see problems. There's good things. Let the chief know. Don't just go one side of the aisle. So thanks again. Tune in next week, 5 o'clock. We'll be here, and we'll hopefully have some more information on the police officer who saved a bunch of lives on Wednesday. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.